Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Homebuilt Workshop. Welcome to Wednesday Live. I am your host, Jeff, and I hope all of you are having a great day. Right on. What's everybody up to? It's a mighty fine Wednesday morning here as we settle in for a little bit of workshop hangout. I don't know. Anyway, what's going on? You guys are here before me this morning. I tried not to be late this morning, too. Time Servant's here, says good morning. Robert says morning to you, Time Surfing, and everyone else this fine morning. Good morning, Robert. Good morning, Time Surfing. Good morning, Mike Johnson. What's going on? Mike says, morning, been a while. I've been kind of busy with work and the yard. Right on, Mike. Yeah, it looks like you've been quite busy. Oh, I clicked something. What did I do? There we go. Oh, it's back. Whew. I thought everything went away for a second. What's everybody up to? How we been? It seems like, for some reason, it feels like it's been forever since we've talked. It's only been a week. Hope everybody's doing good. Cheers to everyone. I hope you have a beverage of choice. Mine is an almost empty cup of coffee. I woke up early this morning. I woke up like at 5 o'clock this morning, which, I don't know, used to be late for me. But now it's a little bit early. I don't get up till a little bit, I don't know, between 5:30 and 6 typically. But I woke up at 5 and I couldn't get back to sleep. So I started drinking coffee early. And I tried to save this because I knew I needed some for the live. Let's see. Big Swedes here says, already done with my 2 cups. Oh, well, let's make it 3. Yeah, there you go. That's what I'm talking about. Mine's typically 2, depending on how those 2 go, maybe 3. It's pretty much always 3 on a Wednesday because I always make this one. But yeah, 2 to 3 cups. I'm good to go. Francisco's here. Francisco says, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Francisco. How are you doing this fine Wednesday? Hope you're doing awesome. Francisco says, no more coffee for me today. That's the way I'll be when I finish this, which I don't know. It feels like it's getting down there. Like I said, I think I filled this cup at about 6:45. So let's see, and we're at 9 now. So I've been kind of sipping on it, trying to make it last. But yeah, that'll be it. I'll finish that, and then we'll be done. It'll be back to the water. Coffee and water. That's pretty much all I drink. Robert says, at least it's cooler today. Only 83 degrees. Feels like 87 with a slight chance of rain. That's what we had yesterday. I don't know, somewhere in the 80s, probably upper 80s. It felt really hot for some reason, but we got a little shower in the afternoon, which was kind of nice. It wasn't a huge shower, but it was enough to cool everything off. And this morning feels really nice, because it was cool overnight. I'll take it. I like it. I like the cooler temperatures after a little bit of rain. So what's everybody up to? What kind of projects have you been working on? Mike, I know you've been working on some projects. What about everybody else? What's on your workbench? My workbench is loaded, and I'm going to get to that here in just a minute. So, Bahoo, last week... Oh, no, I got it blocked in. Hang on. I think we talked about this a little bit last week, but the video came out this past weekend on restoring this little Stanley 9.5. What'd you think? Those of you that are familiar, if you saw the video, do you feel that I made my guess on the age, my age deduction? Did I, what's the word? Did I use all of my clues and get an accurate number? What do you guys think? I feel like it went pretty well. This thing turned out great, and it's going to be a cool little addition to the collection. But I'm curious. I kept all of my notes, and I'm going to try to keep it with the plane so that I can keep everything straight. But that was a fun little project, and definitely, I'm getting more into that sort of thing where you're, kind of restoring a hand plane and, or at least cleaning it up. I don't know if I want to call it restoring because I don't, I don't know. I don't feel like that's a restoration. It's more of a cleanup and put it back to work. So, but yeah, that was a fun one. Let's see. Big Sweet says, trying to get motivated to replicate one of my favorite guitars. Ooh, do tell us more. What is your favorite guitar and what is the project that you're trying to tackle? Because that sounds cool. I've been pondering guitar projects for a little while now. Just trying to figure out what the next one's going to be. I know I got to do a cigar box guitar because I have a cigar box here that needs to be a guitar. But I also want to get back to building another regular electric guitar. I feel like I want to go back, and I mentioned this, I believe, last week or a couple weeks ago or sometime recently. I want to go back and revisit the Tonic model, the Haley Guitars Tonic, which is kind of the T style guitar. There's some things that I kind of want to change a little bit, modify the shape a little bit, just kind of make a couple changes. That's something I want to get to as well, but I'm not sure. I haven't quite decided. There's an acoustic project that I want to get to. There's so many things that I want to do, and just trying to figure out, which one am I going to tackle next. But Big Sweet, I'd be curious to know which one it is you're making. Robert says, I did my grocery shopping yesterday. Also ate at Mexico Joe's restaurant yesterday evening. Ooh, that sounds good. Mexican food. Yeah, we got a pretty good Mexican restaurant near us that I really enjoy. But yeah, that sounds good. And I did some grocery shopping a few days ago as well. Didn't need a whole lot of things, thankfully. But yeah, I guess got to pick up a few supplies here and there. Jimmer's here. Jimmer says Ozzy. Yes. In case you guys didn't know, Ozzy Osbourne passed away yesterday. Condolences to the Osbourne family. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not super surprised, but it is quite timely, seeing how they just had that that final concert a couple weeks ago, or whatever it was. Yeah, that was I was surprised, but not surprised. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Kind of a drag. But yeah, Jimmer, what are you up to? What's on your lift this morning? What's going on? A Big Sweet said it's a smaller, maybe an O or a double O size, 80s Japanese acoustic with a slotted headstock. Interesting. So an O. Is that a parlor size? A single O? The double O is very similar to an OM style. It's very confusing, and that's something that I've learned, since I've started messing around with building acoustics. I've done 2 so far. Is that the size designations are they're confusing. So you got the double O and the triple O, and you got the OM, and then you got the parlor, but an OM is, man, I'm gonna mix this up because I don't have the notes in front of me, but I think an OM is the 24. Not an OM. OM is 25. I don't remember the scale lengths now. One of them is basically the same body, but the scale length's different. But they're called 2 different things. It's really confusing. But yeah, Big Sweet says parlor, yes. So single O is a parlor size. So it's a small bodied one. I like the double O and the triple O size, the OM style. I used to be a huge fan. I always played Dreadnought style or Dreadnought size. But once I learned of some of these other ones, and then of course after building one or building a couple, and there's a fly. After building a couple, I have really come to like the OM, double O, triple O body shape. I like it so much more than a Dreadnought. I don't know. It's curvier than a Dreadnought. Now I look at a Dreadnought and I'm like, oh, it's just kind of boring. So, But, curvier is better, I think. Anyway, let's see here. Mike says, Jeff is a collector of old tools, not the 50-plus-year-olds in the bar. I mean, true. Yeah, I don't really go to the bar much anymore, unless I'm watching a band play or, unless I was playing in the band. Robert says, yeah, I heard Ozzy's passing yesterday. His health has not been good for a number of years. Yes. Yeah. It's, I guess, I don't know all of the details. Parkinson's, I think, is one of them. But yeah, it's kind of, yeah, I mean, it's a drag, I guess. Anyway, Big Swede says, think Joan Baez Martin from the 60s. I'd have to look that up. It sounds like a cool one anyway. And you know what? You said you're trying to get motivated. You can do this. Get after it. Just start. That's what you got to do. I got to do the same thing myself sometimes. Like there's some projects that I want to get to, and until I actually start them, I'm not going to get to them. So like there comes times when I just have to go, you know what? I'm just going to go cut a piece of wood that's going to begin whatever the project is. And then it started. Then it like sets it in my brain, and I just got to keep working on it. And I think that's what the next acoustic project is going to be as well. The next one that I want to do is, or one of the next ones I want to do is an 8-string baritone. I really want to try building one of these. I've got mahogany back sides and top. I've got a complete mahogany set for that particular build. I was thinking of building it out of mahogany. I want to do that. I've also got some walnut here, some black walnut that I want to see. I want to build a guitar out of that. It's figured black walnut. I think it would look cool. I think it's enough to get back and side sets. Well, I know it's enough, but it's in board form, so it needs to be milled up. I don't have the stuff to mill that up, so it's been sitting around and I have not started on anything. So that's one of those things that I just got to get a hold of a buddy of mine and see if he could help me mill it up. He's got larger bandsaw than I have. Mine's tiny, so yeah, that's gonna be the kickoff. Once I get those milled up, then I'm gonna have to start on one. But you got this. Just start. Robert says, if the grass is dry enough, I need to mow again. Wow, not me. I got a few weeds growing up here and there, but for the most part, nothing to mow. Crazy. But it's been dry. It's been super dry. Alrighty. So what have I been working on? Well, since I got the hand plane done for last week's video, yesterday, oh man, I don't even know where to start. It's such a mess over here. So I'm going to move some stuff out of the way, I think. Let me just lean this board out of the way so you can kind of see what's happening. Here we go. It's a little better. Plaques. I mentioned last week that I was starting on the plaques. Just some preliminary work. I've got all of them. I've got all the blanks glued up, roughly flattened, and cut out to shape. I cut them out on the CNC, which is kind of handy because I can just start it cutting out while I'm working on other parts or other steps. I don't even have the edges cleaned up yet, but they're all cut to size. I've got the large triangle ones. They're over on the other side of the shop by the CNC machine. So I pretty much took the entire week last week and worked on these, just trying to get them at least to this step. For now, all of the orders that I have for these, I have all the blanks cut. So that's like a huge chunk of time that is already taken care of. Now, there's still plenty more work that needs to be done, but at least that initial week, really, of gluing up and cutting these out is done. So these are just going to sit here for right now, or sit somewhere. So that was most of my week last week. After I got, was it last week? Yeah, it was last week. because the hand plane I actually did the week before. Yeah. See, I can't keep my days straight. But I got these done last week. This week, so far, I've been working on a few different things. One being this weed trimmer. This is one that I actually had in the shop, I don't know, a month or two ago. I didn't do a video or anything on this one. It was one that I was fixing for a family member. Couldn't get it to run, and bad gas and all that sort of thing. Well, I got it running, gave it back to them, and they still had trouble with it. Like I went out and ran a tank or two of gas through it. Seemed like it ran fine. They couldn't get it to start, run, nothing like that. So I brought it back up. I replaced the carburetor on it yesterday, mainly because I didn't know what else to do. I took the carburetor apart, couldn't find anything wrong. Everything was clean, clear. All the passages were open, and I could get it to run and operate. I mean, it felt like it was running fine, but I decided to swap out the carburetor just to see. So that one, I did a video on that actually yesterday of just tearing it apart, changing the carb. It's really not hard, but a lot of those videos are helpful, for these specific models. So I'm going to got to get that edited for this coming weekend. Hopefully I have time. And then after that, started on another project, which is what I'm working on right now. That's what this board was. I'm working on it. You guys know I don't have any hair. So I need a hat rack. I've been wearing, wider brimmed hats, like cowboy hats and straw hats, all different styles. And we've got several of them now. So I'm building a hat rack. One that's going to, it's going to have some little deals that sit out here kind of at an angle, and you just bloop, plop your hat on there. You can't just hang some of these hats, on a hook, because you have to support the brim, or not the brim, the crown, right? So it doesn't lose its shape. But that's what I'm working on slowly, but just was working on this morning. All kinds of stuff going on at the moment. Busy. So just trying to get some, some projects done, some videos recorded in the works. But yeah, the hat rack one's gonna be cool because I've got a small thing now, but it's really just kind of I don't know what you call it. Just a little wall mounted deal with some shaker pegs on there. And it works good for like ball caps and stuff, but it doesn't work good for brimmed hats. So, and that's what I've been wearing a lot when I'm outside. So just trying to get this taken care of. And the flies are coming into season, which is not great. Let's see here. Robert says, walnut makes a pretty mellow, warm-sounding guitar. Yes, that's what I've heard. And this piece I have is super cool looking. I've been saving it for a while because I want to try to build a guitar out of it. It's just a matter of if I can get it milled up and bent without breaking. I think it would look cool. Sam's here. Sam says, sorry I'm late. Towards Jeffafa Coffee. Cheers, Sam, and thank you for the super chat. Right on, Sam. And let's set an alarm clock so that you're not late next time. I'm just kidding. It's totally fine. Right on. Thank you, Sam. I appreciate that. Donna's here too. Donna says, coffee up, Jeff. Coffee up, Donna. Good morning. Yes, coffee. It's almost gone, which is bad. Francisco says, need a helping hand. Yeah, a lot of times I feel like I do, Francisco. Yeah. It'd be easier to get some of this stuff done. So, a little side story. So, this piece of wood was cut from a slab that I milled up of elm a couple years ago. And another thing I don't know if you guys knew is I don't have a lot of space to work in. So working with material like that is really challenging. Well, yesterday I used a circular saw to break this down into rough size, just to kind of get it into a board out of that slab. Well, then I started running it through the drum sander because, well, I just to start flattening it. Well, I had to maneuver a whole bunch of things so that I could get the drum sander in a spot where I had not only space in front of the drum sander, but enough space for the outfeed, the other side of the drum sander. So I ended up orienting it so that the outfeed, it was feeding it out the door of my shop. Well, in the meantime, I'm moving things around, trying to, get enough space. And it's a whole process. It's like, I can't move the drum sander till I move the jointer. Well, then I can't move the jointer till I move this wood that I have stored. And I can't move this wood that I have stored until I move, the fuel cans for the lawnmowers. And I can't move the fuel cans for the lawnmowers. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those processes. So I had an absolute disaster of a mess. And I don't have a lot of space to even have a disaster of a mess. But it did. It was a total wreck. And in the process, I had knocked a piece of wood over. I had stuff leaning against a wall, a slab. One of them, this was a slab, probably 1.5 inches thick of, thankfully it was only pine, but 1.5 inches thick, probably 12 inches wide and 4 foot long, so not a huge slab, but definitely not a small scrap either. Somehow, while I was moving this piece around, I had bumped that slab and knocked it over. So it tipped from the wall, and I never even saw it coming. Tipped. It's falling down, and it lands smack on my foot. And I did not have my steel toes on, and it lands right on my foot. Actually, even if I had my steel toes on, I don't think it would have made any difference because it landed like, the upper part of your foot, right? Just before it turns into your leg. I don't know what that's called. The head of your ankle? I don't know. But anyway, slams on my foot. And oh my goodness, the pain from that little-ish slab, that was the worst. Well, but all of that, and it came about because I was so crowded for space and I was trying to maneuver everything. So I was literally like limped around the rest of the day because it hurt so much. It still hurts this morning, but now it just feels kind of bruised. Like honestly, last night I had thought that maybe it broke a bone or something in my foot, but today it doesn't feel anywhere near as bad, thankfully. But what that did was it got me frustrated enough that I spent 2 hours this morning from about, like 6:30 this morning till about 8:30, about a half hour before this live, just cleaning stuff up, throwing things away, boards that I've been saving, scraps of this, scraps of that. You know how that works? We accumulate things. Oh, I'm going to use this piece. I'm going to use this piece for something someday, so I'm going to store it. I spent 2 hours this morning cleaning, vacuuming, just throwing things away because I'd gotten so frustrated with, the fact that because I was so cramped for space and I was stacking boards everywhere that I ended up knocking one over and basically hurting myself. Thankfully not bad, right? But yeah. Double check when you're saving things. If you think you're really going to use that thing, that's cool. But if you're just saving something to save it, yeah, maybe you don't need to save it. That's what I do. So just be safe. I don't want anybody to get hurt in your shops. That was my little I hurt myself story. Thankfully, it wasn't that bad. But still, be safe. Anyway, Birdie Erdy's here. Says, I look forward to these Wednesday live shows. Helps me get the motivation to head down to the shop and work on my guitar builds. Thanks, Jeff. Right on, Birdie Erdy. Get after that build. What's the holdup? Like I said, I got to get after some myself. But I got a few other things I got to finish in the first place. Finish beforehand. There you go. Rick's here. Rick says, hi, Jeff. Hi, chat. Right on. What's going on, Rick? How are you doing this fine Wednesday? And Bertie, coming back to your comment, what guitar are you working on? I asked you that, I feel like, already. But anyway, you can tell us again because we're gonna challenge you to get it done. Robert says, my string trimmer was a royal pain to start. The string broke constantly as well. Switched the string head to the one that has the plastic that worked much better, but it's still hard to start. Well, this one was weird too, right? This one, I don't know why. I can get it to run and work fine, but I don't. But I'm comfortable with these, so to me it doesn't seem weird. But I want it to work pretty much as flawless as possible for the family member. The other issue that they were having was with the string. I've not ever used this sort of string head, but this one is super cool because I think the problem they were having with it is it wasn't wound right. You don't have to take anything apart to wind the string on this. When it's out, you basically, there's a couple little notches. You just feed in about a 20 feet of line. You put one end into this side, one end into this side, and you just start cranking the bump button, and it winds it up perfectly. And that's not how it was wound. So that was the other issue here. I think I got that cleaned up. I got it rewound. I loaded it up. I still got to run I want to run another tank of fuel through it just to make sure that everything's working okay. It is an aftermarket carburetor, which I'm not always a fan of, but I think in this case, given the cost of, of parts and stuff, which I just think it's going to be all right. And if not, I can always put the old one back on, but I think we're going to be good. Rick says, hope everyone's having a good day. Rick, I hope you're having a good day. I do. Sam says, Jeff, the other day I did solo moderating of over 400 people for over an hour of a stream. It was exhausting. Wow, that's a lot of people. We need 400. Sam, we need 400. Rick says, wow, Sam, Scott's here. Scott says, good morning, Jeff and everyone. Scott, you made it. Right on. Good morning. Rick says, just having coffee and cereal. Doing good here. Right on. Cereal sounds good. Coffee's good, but we might have a problem. Coffee's gone. Anyway, that's fine. Harry Dude's here. Right on. Harry Dude says, what's up? Sorry I'm late. How are we all? We're good, Harry Dude. Glad you made it. And it's like Sam. It's like you need to set an alarm so you can be on time. No, I'm kidding. What's going on? What's on your workbench? What are you working on? Hopefully not swearing at a power amp or something like that. Mike says, maybe your family's fuel is bad. Well, that was the case the first time I worked on this. The fuel was horrible. It was probably one of the worst smelling tanks of fuel I have ever smelled. It was absolute varnish. I don't know how old it was. Several years, I would guess, or more. And I'm like, well, no wonder it won't start. Even my daughter smelled it, and she's like, oh, what in the... She knows the smell of actual good gas and bad gas, and she smelled it instantly, said, wow. Yeah, that was the problem the first time around. And then one of the fuel lines was just like all cracked into pieces. So cleaned out the gas tank, replaced one of the fuel lines, and then I took the carburetor apart, cleaned it all out, put it back together, got everything running with, I put ethanol-free fuel in it with with a really hot mix of, what did I put in there? Like Berryman. I think it was Berryman actually, to help burn some of the crud out of the fuel system. And I thought it ran fine. But they still had trouble with it. So I said, fine, I'll take it back and we'll swap it out. We'll swap out the carburetor because I don't know what else. Maybe something got deteriorated inside there. Something gummed up that I just couldn't get it clean. I don't know what the deal was. But anyway, I used it yesterday. It's got good gas in it. I think, fingers crossed that it's good. But yeah, that gas is terrible. Terrible. Let's see. But yeah, Mike, the bad fuel, that was the first problem. That was the first time around. First time I worked on this. Rick says, hey dude, how you doing? Birdie Erdy says, you haven't asked yet, but I'm building an offset Jaguar type and an SG type. More of an ESP Viper fabric top. Ooh. From scratch, minus tuners, frets, electronics. You're not doing those you're not gonna You're not going to forge your own frets? I'm kidding. That sounds cool. Jaguar. I love the Jaguar style. And it is something that I want to build one time. Even if it's not like an official Haley Guitars model kind of thing, I do want to build a Jaguar body. I'd probably put one of my necks on it, of course, but I do love that. Or maybe the Jag Stang, really, kind of that Kurt Cobain collaboration. That's kind of, I think, what I would probably build, or something like that anyway, because I always like that style, and I don't have one like that, right? So why not build one? I don't own a Jaguar Mustang kind of guitar, so I guess we need to build one of these days. King Robs is here. What's up, King Robs? King Robs says, "Morning, Jeff. What is going on? How are you doing this fine Wednesday?" Right on. Jimmer says, "As you know, I've been cleaning the shop to make room for the GPW." Yes. So, is that body for that particular Jeep? It's a replacement for that one, or is that for something else? I've been meaning to ask you that. Jimmer says, "A Buick Grand National in the shop this morning." Yes. I love the G bodies, especially the Grand Nationals. Whew, man. I see one every once in a while out here. Saw a really nice T-type, which is not a Grand National, but still turbo Buick. Those are some of my favorites. Right on. Harry Dude says, "Swearing at my back at the moment. Played a couple of gigs over the weekend and paying for it now." Harry Dude, I am sorry to hear that. Back pain is no joke. That is the worst. I have been there several times. So I wish you the speedy recovery. I hope that back straightens up, because that sucks. That is the worst. But it's awesome you got to play some gigs. But yeah, the back deal, not cool. One time I threw mine out in the middle of a gig. That was pretty bad. So like this was in my original band. We were very active on stage, shall we say, jumping around and just, having fun. One time I had jumped up in the air, and as soon as I landed, snap, something in my back. And for the rest of the show, I'm like hunched over, like, oh, it was the worst. And then, it takes weeks mine would take weeks for it to straighten up. So hopefully yours doesn't. Hopefully yours is just kind of sore or something, but speedy recoveries. Sam says, "How about making an origami door? You need to Google an image to get the idea of how they operate." Origami, is that one of those like foldy door things that you're talking about? I think I know what you mean. And it opens and then it does this thing and closes. That's exactly what it does too. Rick says, "Use Supreme gas. It might smell better." I haven't noticed a difference in the smell. I do always use ethanol free, and I have advised the family I've advised the owner of this machine to use ethanol free, if at all possible. Scott says, "For the walnut guitar sides, what if you cut as a thin veneer and laminate a couple of layers?" Ooh, that's not a bad idea either. Laminate them together. Not a bad idea. I could laminate it with some maple even. Huh, that's a good idea. I hadn't thought about that. Thank you for that. That is a good idea. See, the hesitation with these parts, and until I actually take them over to my friend's house and try to mill them up and get his take on them, it's not quarter sawn. It's flat sawn, which I think for the back would be fine. The sides is where I have a little bit of concern. But I think if you laminated them, that might just take care of it. I got to think about that a little bit more. It's a really cool looking bit of walnut. Figured walnut. It looks really awesome. It came last year when I ordered all the material for those plaques that I did last year, the walnut plaques that I'm already working on. And that it's a completely figured board. I set that one aside and actually had to go buy another board to replace it, because I decided to keep that one for myself. And it's been sitting here, but I want to use it for a guitar. I think it would make an awesome acoustic guitar. I just got to talk to my buddy. Mike says, but they probably are still using the older fuel. Doesn't matter how many times you fix it, they still use bad fuel. This time around, he said they went and got fresh fuel for it, and it doesn't smell. It doesn't smell like the old stuff. So hopefully they're not using the same the same stuff. Like, it doesn't smell near as bad. But yeah, that's a good point. I could clean it out and fix it, and if they still have the same old can and they're just refilling it, yeah, it's not going to run. I don't think they did, though, because I ran it with the fuel that they had in there. But I got to keep an eye out for that. Good point, Mike. Yeah. Jimmer says, yes, the World War II body is for the Ford GPW Jeep. That's going to be cool, man. That's going to be awesome. So was the body, the original body, in that bad of shape that it's just, you're better off just replacing the whole tub? Sam says, that's age for you, Jeff. Yeah, Sam, this was, I don't know, when this would have been, I don't know exactly when that happened. This was probably 2007, 8, 9, 10, somewhere in there. I don't remember the exact year, but I remember it was at a club up in Denver. We were playing up in Denver, and yeah, somewhere up in Denver, and it happened. I remember that because I just remember loading out, and it wasn't at one of the local spots. Rick says, oh, wow. It says ethanol 3 gas. I've never heard of it. No, it's ethanol free. FREE. I can see the confusion there. Yeah, so ethanol free gas means it has no ethanol, which means it doesn't go bad like regular gas. Like the gas that we put in our vehicles all the time. Most of the time that all has ethanol in it. Unless you buy the special ethanol-free gas. The ethanol-free gas is what I always run in small engines. I ran it for a while in my vehicle too for a fair bit of time, but it got a little bit expensive. But anyway, I always run it in the lawnmowers, chainsaws, weed whackers, all of the small engine things, because it's so much more stable than regular gas. Regular gas really starts to go bad a lot faster than ethanol free. And when when it starts turning to varnish, it starts gumming up your carburetors and things, and you start running into problems with things like your weed trimmers, your lawnmower, pressure washers, all of that sort of stuff, because the gas is bad. Well, then the thing won't run, and you're like, well, why won't it run? So then you start messing with a bunch of other stuff, and potentially, I got a story about that too. But I always recommend, if you can get it, to always run ethanol free, FREE, in all of your small engines, 4-wheelers, dirt bikes, any of that stuff. The ethanol free stuff is so much better. If you cannot get ethanol free, then you always have to run some fuel stabilizer like Stabil. I always recommend that. But yeah. Rick says unleaded, regular, Supreme are the only ones I can remember. I know there's one more. Yeah, you got your regular, mid-grade, and your Supreme stuff, but you also have ethanol free at some places. It's not available everywhere, but we do have a station not too far from here where I get the ethanol free stuff. So hope that helps, Rick. Scott says, I used to work in a steel mill, and we wore Met boots, which has an overlay over the top of your shoes, protecting what I believe where the board hits your foot. Met stands for metatarsal. Yes. Well, here, I'll show you. Sorry. Take my shoe off. So these are steel-toed. But the board hit right here. Like it came down and the corner of the board, but that fly, smashed right on there. I mean smashed. These aren't the shoes I was wearing at the time, but even if I had these on, it hit right there, so it wouldn't have helped. The only thing that might have helped was if I had actually had my work boots on, they got a little bit more, body. I don't know if it would have hurt as bad, but I was wearing shoes that were even lighter than this. And right now I'm wearing these because, I don't know, it kind of holds my foot in place a little bit better. It does definitely feel bruised. But yeah, I think I know what you mean, Scott. They have kind of an armor type of extra piece or something right there. And that probably would have helped, because I'm telling you, that hurt really bad. Thankfully, it was a board and not like, a steel beam or something, a steel pipe or something like that. I mean, it could have been way worse, but like I said, it did make me go, okay, I got to take a little bit of time and do a little bit of cleaning, get rid of some stuff. I'm just too cramped in this space to have, this extra stuff. And there's still some more that I need to do. I probably got another couple hours of sorting through, and I could get rid of some more stuff, and I probably should. But it was a bit of a painful reminder of, keep your space as clean as you can, right? You gotta be careful. Always be paying attention to what's going around, especially when you're moving stuff like longboards in a small space. It's like that. You ever seen Tommy Boy? It's like the fat guy in a little coat. That kind of thing. Large board in a small shop kind of deal. So just be aware of your workspace and your surroundings, and be safe. Scott says it would be a little overkill for a wood shop. Well, maybe not. Sam says, rest in peace, Ozzy Osbourne. Yes, Sam. Yep. Condolences to the family. That was a little bit of a surprise. Kizzy's here. Kizzy's gives an RIP. Yes. Yep. Let's see. Rick says, oh, wow, that's cool. Rick says, I live in Northern Cali. Don't know where the ethanol free close by. Yeah, I don't know either. There's a website. I haven't checked it in a while. There's a website called Pure Gas, PUREGAS.org, ORG, I believe it is. And you can put in basically your address or zip code or something, and it'll bring up ethanol-free stations. But that is only if somebody has entered them in. I've used that before. I have entered in the station I use. I haven't checked it in quite some time, though. So let's see here. Rick asked, what kind of music did you guys play? I got into prog rock. We played like a mix of rock, metal, probably more on the metal side. Just some good old hard rock metal stuff. I don't know what else you'd call it. I was going to take a drink of coffee. Somebody drank it all. Let's see. Kizzy says, I was about to say that. The stay bill goes in everything, even the ethanol-free gas, because unfortunately, moisture seeps in and is also very corrosive. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I don't typically put it in the ethanol-free stuff, but you're definitely not going to hurt anything, for sure. Yeah, it's the regular gas in small engines, it's the worst. I can't stress that enough. If you can't get the ethanol free, like your pressure washer, your lawnmower, it's going to run fine on the regular gas, but you cannot leave it in there, especially over the winter. If you leave it in there over the winter, I guarantee you in the springtime, it is going to be not great. If you plan to run just regular fuel, I highly recommend you either run it out of gas or drain the fuel system, leave it dry. If you don't use stabilizer. I don't know. It's just tough. I wish they just use regular gas anymore. I don't know why we need this ethanol stuff. Jimmer says, by the time I bought the floor panels and windshield frame, I was almost to the cost of an entire new body, and it will save me a lot of time. Yes, it will. You better just plop the new tub on there, and you're rolling pretty much. Rick says, I'm sad that we lost our own Ozzy. I was bummed when we lost Eddie Van Halen. It's not the same. Yes, I I was surprised to hear of Ozzy's passing yesterday. I really was. I guess I mean, we knew it was coming. Let me back up. I was surprised, but not surprised. You know what I'm saying? Like, we knew that his health wasn't great, and it was the time was going to be coming. But I was surprised that it was so soon after that last show. So it kind of makes you think: did he know something was going on? Probably. I was also, I think, I don't know how to say that. I don't mean this to sound bad or anything, but I think when Eddie passed, I felt that a little more, because that was like music of my childhood kind of thing, and that one I felt a lot more. I never was a huge Ozzy fan necessarily, but I have huge respect for what he's done in the music world, for sure, 100%. But yeah, still, it's a drag. Oh, let's see. Sam says, you can make a guitar-shaped hot tub for the winter seasons. That would be cool. That would be cool. Rick says, same here. Too soon? Yes. I know. What a drag. Kizzy says, Stable makes formulas specifically for ethanol-free and moisture protection. My pressure washer loves that stuff. Really? They have different... Hang on. Talk amongst yourselves. Oh, it's going to follow me. But Cameron, you're not going to be able to follow me. I'm going to step away for a second. Hang on. Hey, it's kind of nice that I have a little bit of space here. Kind of move around. Let's see here. What do we have? We got a can of Stable right here. Effective in all ethanol blended fuels. Keeps fuel fresh for up to 24 months. Effective in all blends of gasoline. Prevents gum, varnish, and corrosion. Safe for all gas engines, including 2-cycle. I don't know. I'm going to check that out next time I go to the store. I didn't know they made different versions. No, I need to investigate. Sam says British are putting liquid petrol in vehicles. Americans are still putting gas in their vehicles. Nah, don't know. Oh boy. Rick says LOL, Sam. Oh boy. Let's see. So I kind of ran through the stuff that I've been working on. Plaques, weed trimmers, strimmers, Sam. Working on the hat rack things. Also doing some 3D printing project that my daughter and I are working on. A couple other projects. Man, it's just like trying to keep the 3D printer going, trying to keep stuff out here going, trying to keep the plaque project going. I've got all of this stuff printed for the plaques as well. Yeah, just been crazy. Trying to enjoy summer too. That's kind of a challenge sometimes. You got so many things to try to get done. I got to remember too that we're on summer break and we really only have a couple weeks before school starts back up. So there's still a few things that we want to do, family wise, that we got to try to squeeze that stuff in there too. I can't believe that school's almost ready to start back up here. It's pretty wild. Hair Dude says, so in the U.S., regular fuel has ethanol. Here in Australia, we have standard premium 95 and premium 98, all with no ethanol. If you want ethanol, we have E10. So Hair Dude, and Jim, you might have to help me out with this. I may get something wrong. Here in the U.S., all of our regular, quote, I use air quotes, regular fuels have up to 10% ethanol. And they say it right on all of the gas pumps. So when you go and you buy your 87 octane, your regular, or your mid-grade 89 octane, depending on where you live, and your high test, your premium, which is 92, 94, depending on where you are. So you've got the three main grades of fuel, but all of those have ethanol in them, up to 10%, and it says right on there. We also have E10. At some places, we have E85. Those are way more ethanol, right? It's more of an ethanol fuel, but the regular fuel still has like 10-15% ethanol in it. So if you use regular gas, regular air quotes, regular gas in your small engine, that ethanol is still going to turn to varnish and gum up your carburetor. The only way that you can get ethanol or fuel without ethanol is you have to buy specifically fuel marked ethanol free. It's called, the station I go to, they call it clear gas or something like that. It is ethanol free. It costs the same as high test, as the premium, at least at this station. And it is the only fuel that you can get that I have seen that is ethanol free, that doesn't have the ethanol, unless you buy the expensive like quart cans from the hardware store kind of thing. And those are ridiculously expensive, and I will not buy that. But yeah, all of our regular gas, and I mean just normal, regular, mid-grade, and premium, all has 10% or so ethanol in it. Yeah, so it's kind of crappy. For our vehicles and things that you're constantly working through it, it's okay. We don't really see the problems. California has, I guess, different blends, and the fuel there, can cause havoc with some of the fuel lines and stuff like that. But in general, as long as you're using the fuel and it's not sitting, it doesn't really give you the problems. But it's in stuff like these small engines. If you use that ethanol fuel, the ethanol goes bad, over a winter. And now you're left with crappy gas in your tank. So that's why the stay bill is so important, or ethanol free, to keep these things running. Jim says still recommend non-ethanol with the stay bill. Yeah, I'm gonna try that. I got the stay bill here, but I haven't used it. Rick says time flies. Yeah, I can't believe this summer, gone. Heritage says, wow, our octane ratings start at 91. Interesting. So the way it works here, Harry Dude, where I grew up on the East Coast, the low grade was 87. The mid grade was 89. Or is it 87, Jim? Or is it 89? Maybe it depends on the station. And then your high test is 91 or 90. No. 93 or somewhere around there. Out where I am, I live at 7,000 feet elevation, right? So I'm like over a mile up in the air. And apparently the altitude makes a difference with what fuel, with your octane rating, right? So if you run, let's say you have a car and you live at sea level, 1,000 feet or whatever, and you have to run high test, because if you don't, you get maybe a knock, right? You get that spark knock. If you go up in elevation, your octane requirement is less. So instead of running a 93 or 95, you could run an 89. So out here, our low grade is 85, which there's something in my brain that tells me that that's way too low, because I think our low grade is 80, or what I grew up with was 89, 87. I don't remember. So I always run mid grade just because, and that's 87. But the higher you go in elevation, the less octane you need, which is kind of interesting. I was not aware of that until I moved out here. But what is your elevation at, Harry Dude? I'm going to guess that you're pretty close to sea level, if not at sea level. Maybe that's why your ratings start at 91. Jimmer says you're correct with the gasoline. In Alaska, they don't have ethanol or additives, and their gasoline doesn't go bad. Oh, so they don't have the ethanol. See, that's where I wish we were. I don't know why we need it. Why do you have to add an extra process? This is why they don't hire me to do that kind of stuff. Jim says ethanol gums up after long periods and eats rubber. Some have 87. Ethanol drops octane rating. Maybe because it dilutes. Yeah, but the whole thing about elevation is I never knew that made a difference because I couldn't figure out why our octane ratings were so low, or the fuel ratings were so low out here. And it turns out that's why, because of the elevation. I mean, we're at 7,000 feet. I mean, Denver's, mile high city. They're at a mile, and yeah. And I've noticed that as we travel across the country and head east, we're dropping in elevation, and I noticed the change at the gas stations. You can definitely tell. Rick says, I'm 4,000 feet. I live in the mountains. Right on. Pretty crazy. Yeah, it's wild. Either way, I suggest at the bare minimum, you got to use Staybill for your small engines for sure. You've got to use some of this. Not sponsored, but if you can get ethanol-free gas, you definitely should consider it. It makes a big difference for lawnmowers and that sort of thing. I go out there, mine will sit all winter. I don't drain the fuel. At the end of the season, if I remember, I'll put some of this in, but there have been several seasons where I didn't put a single thing in my lawnmowers. And this spring, when I dragged the push mower out, I hit the primer bulb, however many times, one pull, and it fires up after sitting all winter in the snow, and it's pretty amazing. Kizzy says, I'm 46 feet above sea level. Be careful. Whoa. No, that's awesome. 46 feet. I think even where I grew up, it's, I don't know, 16 to 1,800 feet, 1,200 feet, maybe some areas. I don't know. But it's not, it's not 46 feet. Jimmer says, ethanol is cheaper. However, it gets less miles per gallon. Ethanol cars get half the miles per gallon than standard gas, so you end up spending the same. Yes, I've done that. I've done that test. When I was running ethanol free, I got so much more mileage out of a tank of fuel, but it didn't cost any different. So I was trying to do that calculation like on my own. Do I pay more for ethanol free and get more miles, or do I pay less and have to get more of it, and it ended up really costing the same? So again, it makes me think, why? Why have both? Just go with one. And I would be totally fine if I went to the gas station and they had one option and it was ethanol free. I wouldn't care. I don't need all of the other stuff. That wouldn't bother me a bit. Let's see. Kizzy says, in Louisiana. Yeah, I can imagine that. 46 feet. Heritage says, we're under 30 meters, 100 feet, 99 point something. About 10 Ks to the coast. 10 Ks? Oh, kilometers? 10 kilometers to the coast? You're mighty close. Sam says, Dear America, big vehicles equals more gas equals less beer cash equals more boredom at home. Boredom? We're not bored. We got plenty to do here. Rick says, Bernie, California. Right on. Not sure what the gas grade is. Kizzy says, although I was told ethanol prevents early combustion. I've not heard that. I would challenge that. If anything, if it lowers the ethanol or the octane rating, it would encourage early combustion, right? That would be what we used to call spark knock. Huh. Interesting. They're going to come up with whatever to justify it, and there's reasons for it. I don't know what those are, but all I know is small engine stuff use ethanol free. if you can. That's all I can say about that. Oh, so speaking of small engines and lawnmowers and bad gas and things, so I acquired a lawnmower the other day from a neighbor. The neighbors were moving and they'd left this one here, and he said, I don't know if you want it or someone else wants it. So I dragged the thing over, and I was going to try to get this thing running. It's a little Husqvarna something or other. It's a bagger, which I don't bag my grass, but I thought, well, maybe I can get it running. Maybe we sell it, or I don't know. Maybe I'll use it. I don't know anyway, but we got to get it running first. Gave it a couple of pulls. You know, he'd told me before that they'd worked on it and worked on it and worked on it, and they could not get it to run. So I'm like, I don't know. We'll see what happens. So I pulled it a few times, nothing. Took the gas cap off. Smells like old gas and water. I mean, old gas, but not as strong, like it was watered down. So I don't know if it sat out in the rain or what. I'm like, well, maybe it's just the bad gas. So I poured a little bit of gas straight in the carburetor, pulled it, and it fired. It didn't start, but it fired. Like, okay, maybe it is just the gas. Poured a little bit more in there, pulled it, it backfired, kicked back, popped out of the exhaust and the carburetor, like the thing was completely out of time. I'm like, wow, that's weird. Like, it kicked back so hard that it yanked the pull cord out of my hand and gave me a little, I don't know if you can see that. Where? Can't. There's a little blood blister on my hand. I pulled back so hard. I'm like, it shouldn't be kicking back like that. I'm like, this thing's out of time or something. So I started taking it apart. I pulled the top cover off, and the flywheel, right, is what times your ignition to the crank and everything, and it's got to have that key in there. The flywheel key, there is no key in the flywheel. So I'm like, well, somebody's had this thing apart. So since the key was gone, the flywheel was not, it was just kind of sitting there. Everything was tight, but the flywheel key was missing. So the flywheel was just firing whenever. So I had to go track down a flywheel key, and of course I couldn't find the right one without waiting days to order it. So I had to get one that was close and make it fit, and it was a whole process. Finally, I get a flywheel key to fit. I can get the flywheel back on. Everything is lined up where it's supposed to be. Then I pour a little bit of gas in the carburetor. It fires up. Okay, I like it just long enough to, to kind of burn the little bit of gas that I'd poured in there. So I drained out the gas, the old oily or watery smelling weird stuff. Put in a little bit of fresh gas. Poured a little more in the carburetor. It fired up with just the gas in the carburetor. Like, it's not pulling gas from the tank. I'm like, that's weird. Made sure that the hose, the fuel line coming from the gas tank to the carburetor was clear. It was. So ended up having to take the carburetor off, pulled the bowl off the bottom, and the main jet in there was completely plugged. I don't know what it was plugged with, but completely plugged with something. Probably, I don't know, varnishy dirt. Because the bowl of the carburetor wasn't bad. There wasn't much stuff in there, unless somebody else has had that off and cleaned it out. But got the main jet sort of cleared out, put it back together, and it starts up and runs. I still got to clean the jet out a little bit more. I think it's still partially plugged because it surges real bad, so I don't think it's letting enough fuel through. But it does run. I'm like, man, they would have been working on this thing for a long time without a flywheel key, and they would have never got it running. So anyway, I about got this thing fixed up, and and just because it doesn't run, I get so many things basically for free that are like that. People, I can't get it to run, so here, you take it. And most of the time, it's a carburetor issue. Well, this time it was a little bit more, but still. Jim, I know you've gotten more than one thing that way as well. Oh, this thing doesn't run. Here, you have it. Okay. Let's see here. Kizzy says we had a heat index of 112 yesterday, so we have to keep our combustibles safe. 112? Whew. You can't even imagine that. I don't think I've ever experienced 112. 104, 5. I don't know if I've been any higher than that. Whew. Well, definitely stay safe in the heat and stay hydrated. That's kind of nuts. Birdie Erdy says, Kizzy, yeah, I'm in Baton Rouge. It was a scorcher yesterday. Oh, yeah. All of you, stay hydrated and safe. That's getting up there. I mean, whew. Kizzy says, heck yeah, Livingston Parish here, Birdie. They say it's going to be worse today. Oh my gosh. Be careful. Kizzy says a can of spray foam exploded last year. I learned my lesson. Aerosol cans stay inside. Wow. That's nuts. Kizzy says, how crazy is that? Birdie and I are right next to each other. See, now you got contacts. That's awesome. That's awesome. And if it wasn't for us, how would we ever connect? See, that's so cool. Yeah, I like it when I learn that there's other people in the area. You just never know when you need to call on somebody. You know what I'm saying? That's awesome. Sam says, can you do home built workshop cell phones? Just get a batch of Android, slap your logo on, and it's good as your personal phone brand. Sounds expensive. These things cost enough money. That's cool. What is that button? I just found a weird button. Oh, I know what that is. Oh, boy. Anyway. Well, guys, I think it's about time to start wrapping this up. Kizzy says, no, why Androids? No Apple. The only Apple I have is an old iPad that I can barely use for anything because it won't update anymore. So I'm not anti-Apple. I just don't want one. Anyway, let's see. Sam says, worked for tea. He says, thanks for the fantastic stream today, Jeff. Sam, thank you for being part of this fantastic stream today. Jimmer says, had a customer sell his lawn tractor cheap because it doesn't run and needed a spark plug. Then they got mad when it got resold for more money and wanted it back. Well, yeah, it's not my fault. I mean, not my fault. I don't know what else to say, right? If you don't know how to fix something, you sold it to me fair and square. Just because you sold it to me for $10 and I'm selling it for $100. Oh, the other thing I got in this week was a couple more guitar repairs. Got a couple of wiring projects I got to do for a customer. So I got that coming up too. Probably won't be a video as well. Most of the repairs I don't do videos on. I just get them done and get them out the door. But got those I got to probably work on them maybe Friday. Kind of been taking Friday to do any sort of repairs that are necessary. But I don't know. We'll see. I got that coming up. But Jim, that's funny. I'm still chuckling about that. Needs a spark plug. Yeah. I mean, don't get mad at me, right? Alrighty. Well, anyway, Sam says, be safe, everyone. Yeah, we're going to wrap this up. I got to get back to work. I'm going to do a final adjustment on this strimmer, Sam, and hopefully get that back to the family member that it belongs to. And I got to get to work on this. So, you guys, I hope you have an awesome week. Thank you for tuning in as we wrap this up. Harry Dude says, cheers, folks. We'll try to be on time next week. Sorry, sir. That's right. And don't you forget. No. Harry Dude, it's all good. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you made it. That's funny. Kizzy says, you too. Right on. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for taking some time to hang out here. And you guys stay safe in that heat. If it's hot where you are, down south, maybe Arizona, California, whatever, you guys stay hydrated, stay safe, because I need everybody back next week on Wednesday. So you guys take care, stay safe, get on your shops, make some cool things, unless it's 100 million degrees, and then you got to stay inside, and then try to work on something inside. But bottom line is, hope you all have a good one. I'm going to get out of here, get back to work, and I'll catch you guys next week. So stay safe. Just be on the lookout for the video coming out this weekend. Hopefully, if I can get it edited in time. There's a tiny little chance that it may not, but I'm shooting for it. So you guys take care. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate all of you. We'll see you next time. We're out of here. Time to get back to work right now.